University of Melbourne, it gives me very great pleasure to welcome you all to this morning's graduating ceremony. Bachelor degree students, master degree students, and those receiving doctoral degrees, families and friends. I begin in our customary way with an acknowledgement of the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation and pay respects to the traditional owners of the land on which this ceremony is taking place. For all of you about to graduate with undergraduate and postgraduate degrees, a significant life step has been achieved with, I am sure, great application of time and of mind. To all of you who have supported one of the graduands, whether as a parent or relative, a partner or friend, I thank you on behalf of the university and invite you to see this ceremony as an acknowledgement of all of your efforts too. The ceremony of graduation is a ritual of long standing, recognising the high value placed on the acquisition of knowledge in a free and inquiring environment. That said, contemporary times are marked by the fact that the body of knowledge, which is the subject of research and teaching, is always expanding. The composition of the student body seeking knowledge has also expanded considerably in recent times. The number of Indigenous students has grown. So has the number of students from places other than Australia, with more than 100 different nations represented in our overall student population. We welcome these and many other positive changes. At Melbourne, we especially welcome the change from being a largely undergraduate university through most of our history to being a university with now an equal emphasis on both postgraduate and undergraduate education today. Consequently, today's Melbourne graduates are a truly global population, professional and outward-looking people who will contribute to communities everywhere around the world. Melbourne's graduates are also high achievers, inspired by the pursuit of excellence. For example, in 2015, 3 winners of the Rhodes Scholarship to the University of Oxford will be recent Melbourne students. So, in being recognised today as graduates of the University of Melbourne, Australia's highest ranked and regarded university, you therefore join a rich and diverse community of high-achieving alumni living and contributing in a wide range of areas, fields and locations all over the globe. These are alumni who continue to uphold our core values, values which encourage academic freedom, values of encouraging intellectual discourse, and the value of transferring and sharing your knowledge with others. For some of you, this ceremony coincides with the beginning of your professional lives. For many, it is a progression of an already established career. Whatever your situation, I emphasise that with graduation comes a responsibility to use your learning to make your personal and positive contribution to our world. A responsibility which involves the understanding of many different values, communities and environments. It is a responsibility to challenge expectations and to view traditional ways of doing things with a critical eye, and a responsibility to keep learning forever. So take the excitement of learning that I hope you experienced at our university into your own world of doing, whatever that may be. On behalf of the entire university community, I offer my congratulations and sincere best wishes to each and every one of you who is graduating. Well done. I now call on the Provost, Professor Margaret Shield, to introduce Mr. Russell Kaplan, who has kindly agreed to deliver the occasional address.
Presiding Chancellor, graduates and your families and colleagues, we are indeed fortunate to have as our guest speaker today a widely respected leader within the Australian business community, Mr. Russell Kaplan. Russell was a graduate in law from the University of Melbourne Law School in 1968. He joined Shell in the same year, beginning a 42-year-long journey which ultimately led to him leading that company here in Australia. Over more than 4 decades, Russell's responsibilities range from strategic planning to marketing and sales, business development and executive directorship. These varied roles saw him live and work in Australia, the UK and in the USA. His time at Shell culminated in 5 years as the chairman of Shell Australia from 2006 until his retirement in 2010. Russell is now the chairman of Orica Limited and serves on a range of other boards. He is chairman of the Melbourne and Olympic Parks Trust, a non-executive director of Horizon Limited, director of the St Kilda Football Club and the Australian Cancer Research Foundation, giving back to those organisations the wisdom and experience of an extraordinary career. It is with great pleasure that I call on him to speak this morning. Please welcome Mr. Russell Kaplan.
To be here this morning to give this address. It brings back memories for me. I remember my own graduation ceremony in this hall in this month in 1968. I attended. I shook the hand of the then Chancellor, the great Sir Robert Menzies, with a feeling of pride and anticipation, accompanied by my family, my new bride, and a new job. And here I am, 47 years later, with the same degree, the same wife, and the same job. When the Dean of the Law School, Professor Evans, invited me to give this address, I wondered, why me? And what could I say that would have relevance or meaning to the graduands in particular? I decided I'd use the opportunity to give thanks for the gift of education and to give you some reflections on two themes: the journey of an ordinary person and some things they didn't tell me at Melbourne University. So I'll start with the journey of an ordinary person. And with the assembly of extraordinary talent in this hall, it's possible that I'm the only ordinary person here and that my reflections will miss their mark, but just maybe my story illustrates that anything Hilda, actions and her words taught me a great lesson about the importance of learning. She encouraged learning. Money was always tight, but somehow was available for school books and extras. She manoeuvred my brother and myself on a pathway that, if our standards were high enough, we would get into Melbourne High School, recognised then and now as one of this country's great schools. Now, Melbourne High School was a life-defining experience for me. It lifted my expectations and my self-confidence, and it absolutely set me on a path to tertiary education, a first for my family and very much envisaged by my mother. I worked hard and I was a very good student. In fact, I think I peaked in 1963 when I matriculated at Melbourne High with first-class honours in all subjects. I certainly had the marks to choose whatever university and whatever course I wanted. I chose the Melbourne University Law School, and on the back of my excellent high school results, I thought how lucky they were to have me. I expected university to be a sort of extension of my school life. I still lived in that same flat in St Kilda, and I had my old friends, but things were different. I had to think for myself, and knowledge wasn't served up in neat parcels, and I was exposed to the freedoms and distractions of university life. I found the law course interesting and it was stretching, but I was quite an ordinary student. For the first time in my life, I failed a subject. It was public international law. I went out looking for articles. Alas, nobody was interested in taking me on. As a kind of backup, I attended campus interviews with corporate employers, and Shell, Ford, Alcoa all showed interest in me. a job offer came from Shell. It said that I'd be loaned a car for my first assignment in the graduate program, and that was enough to hook me. And as it happens, I stayed with Shell for all of my 42-year executive career. Ironically, this included an assignment in one of the world's foremost planning departments, working on scenarios for which Shell has long been renowned. And you might find that hard to believe, given the less than deep planning that saw me joining Shell. In my 42 years with Shell, and more recently in my non-executive roles, I've worked all over the world in most aspects of the resources business and for a large part in leadership positions. I've been responsible and accountable for major operations, investments, strategies and relationships, including being responsible for people's lives. And that in an industry that is fundamental to human well-being and in a splendid company with high standards. How lucky have I been? Now, how did this happen to an ordinary person? I'm not sure. My wife reminds me that I wouldn't get through today's graduate selection process in Shell. I think I'm like a snowball of accumulated experiences. That's what I have to offer. And then there are some things they didn't tell me at Melbourne University. The first is surround yourself with good people. In my case, I've been fortunate to have friendships and working relationships with good people. The people I've been close to at school, university, in the workplace and outside, they've inspired me with their own values and accomplishments. They've challenged me, and in many cases they've dragged me along with them. One or two have annoyed me from time to time as well, but I've always understood the importance of good people, and I hope I can repay them in some way through my journey. The second thing is that simplicity beats complexity every time. I need to break things down into manageable, easy-to-understand form before I can deal with them. And even if I don't have the time to do it, I still need to do it. In virtually all of the business and other issues I've confronted, I've found taking the simple course is best, and I've found that this message resonates powerfully with people at all levels. The third is that hard work beats most other ingredients. Hard work's not enough, of course. I expect we've all experienced hard work for no result. That's how it happens sometimes. It's okay to fail. But whatever other ingredient I bring, experience, insight, horsepower, or just plain luck, and however lofty my expectations, plain hard work is a constant. Blended with some fun and laughter, of course, and especially blended with not taking myself too seriously. The fourth, trust your judgment. Mostly you will know the right thing to do. Not always, but mostly. The fifth is that ordinary things done well by ordinary people can lead to extraordinary results. And I regard this as my most important observation. Most of my disappointments have arisen from very ordinary sources. We recognise the extraordinary in all fields, in the arts, in science, in commerce, in sport, sometimes even in politics. Of course, we should do that, and today's graduation ceremony is an example. And probably each person and each circumstance does contain elements of both the ordinary and the extraordinary. But in my book, you can't overestimate the power of ordinary things being done well by ordinary people. Perhaps a final reflection. Throughout my career, opportunities arose. Some I'd hoped for, some completely unexpected. Some I liked, others not so much. The one thing I tried to do each time was to have a go and do my best. and I think it's served me well. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't suppose I'll be awarded a PhD in philosophy for my observations today. They surely are not new or unique. I guess I've distilled them from what my parents, my teachers, my bosses, my wife, my kids, and my experiences have taught me. But the more I thought about this address, the more I felt that these observations were what I wanted you to hear from me, however ordinary or extraordinary each of you may be. I'll finish with the blindingly obvious observation that all education is valuable and that a good education, well used, is priceless. Melbourne University provided me and is providing you with a very good education. My wish for you is that you fulfil the priceless promise that education offers. Thank you.
On your behalf, ladies and gentlemen, I thank Mr. Russell Kaplan for his address to us this morning. By virtue of the authority vested in me by the Council of the University, I shall confer certain degrees. I call on Professor Pip Nicholson, Deputy Vice President of the Academic Board.
Deputy Chancellor, I certify to you and to the University that the candidates now to be presented have fulfilled the conditions prescribed for admission to certain degrees and are entitled to be admitted to the rank, privileges and responsibilities of those degrees.
I will now receive candidates for admission to bachelor degrees and call on Associate Professor Pasha Lee Steekum, Associate Dean, Teaching and Learning of the Faculty of Arts.
Deputy Chancellor, I present to you these candidates for admission to the degree of Bachelor of Arts. Audrey Atkinson.
Congratulations. Well done.
Joseph William Baxter.
Well done, Joseph. Well done.
Scarlett Adele Chen.
Well done, Scarlett. Congratulations.
David Allen Clark.
Well done, David. Good on you. Cheers.
Patrick Clyde Croswell.
Well done, Patrick. Congratulations.
Fletcher Nicholas Diamantis.
Well done, Fletcher.
Adriana Jankulovsky. Thomas James Keep.
Well done, Thomas. Good on you. Cheers.
Lee Yue Shio.
Thank you, sir.
Kathleen Claire Lovelock. Mei Kwan Low.
Well done, mate. Congratulations.
Jocelyn Constance MacDonald.
Well done, Justin. Congratulations.
Darcy Thomas Moore.
Well done, Darcy. Good on you.
Cecilia Beltran Nguyen.
Well done, Cecilia. Congratulations.
Jack Patrick Nichols.
Well done, Jack. Good on you.
Jordan Zachary Smith.
Well done, Jordan.
Lachlan John Smith. Georgia Ashley Stephen. Clarissa Tan Tien Tan. Marley Yutagali Wells.
Well done, Marley. Good on you.
Deputy Chancellor, I present to you these candidates for admission to the degree of Bachelor of Arts and Diploma in Languages. Bradley Andrew Bennett.
Well done, Bradley.
Isabel Catherine Williamson.
Well done, Isabel. Good on you.
Deputy Chancellor, I present to you this candidate for admission to the degree of Bachelor of Arts and Diploma in Music Practical. Lachlan Ross McFarlane.
Well done, Lachlan. Good on you. Thank you. I call on Associate Professor Felicity Baker, Associate Dean Academic of the Faculty of the Victorian College of the Arts and the Melbourne Conservatorium of Music.
Deputy Chancellor, I present to you these candidates for admission to the degree of the Bachelor of Music. Helen Marie Conway.
Well done, Helen. Good on you.
Kirsten Fatini Kalansi.
I call on Professor Paul Kaufman, Dean of the Faculty of Business and Economics.
Deputy Chancellor, I present to you these candidates for admission to the degree of Bachelor of Commerce. Daniel Muzaffar Abdulatzin. Cornelis Jacobus Bosua.
Congratulations.
Ki Yang Chan.
Well done, Key. Congratulations.
David Chung.
Well done, David. Thank you.
Marin Jody Denson.
Well done, Mary. Congratulations.
Shuayu Ding.
Congratulations.
Paul Chan Duc Duan.
Well done, Paul. Congratulations.
Alexander Galligan.
Well done, Alexander.
Susanna Catherine Gong.
Well done, Susanna. Well done,
Yifan Gu.
Well done, Kafan. Congratulations.
Michelle Ha.
Well done, Michelle.
Syed Ahmed Hasham.
Well done, Sayed. Thank you.
Sui Pang Ho.
Well done, Clement. Congratulations.
Jae Yoon Kim.
Well done, Jay. Thank you very much. You're welcome.
Jin Hua Lai.
Well done, Jinhua. How are you? Well done. Congratulations.
Bo Lee. Francis Lee.
Well done, Francis. Good on you.
Andrew Morris.
Well done, Andrew.
Thank you very much.
Nuani Nisansala Patirana.
Well done, Nuani. Good on you.
Aspasia Nade Piruse.
Well done, Spasia. Good on you.
Kalpana Rela.
Well done, Kapana. Good on you.
Amat Resai.
Well done, Ahmad. Good on you.
Tan Tao To.
Congratulations, Tom.
Nice.
Erdong Wang.
Well done, well done.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Shinwei Wang.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Congratulations.
Xiaoshe Yu.
Well done,
Thank
Shashi.
you.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
Mei Jiao.
Congratulations, Manny.
Yezhe Yi Yuju.
Congratulations. Well done.
Deputy Chancellor, I present to you these candidates for admission to the degree of Bachelor of Commerce, degree with honours. Gabrielle Elizabeth Lowton Grist.
Congratulations.
Alistair Roderick Kevett.
Well done, Alistair.
Daryl Tirta.
Well done, Darren. Congratulations.
Bethan Francis Whaley. Deputy Chancellor, a Bachelor of Commerce and Diploma in Languages. Jacob Mark Erlandson.
Well done, Jacob. Good on you.
Rebecca Elizabeth King.
Well done, Rebecca. Good on you.
Deputy Chancellor, I present to you this candidate for admission to the degree of Bachelor of Commerce and Diploma in Mathematical Sciences. Luo Yu Gung.
Good work. Good on you. I will now receive candidates for admission to master degrees and call again on Associate Professor Lee Steekham.
Deputy Chancellor, I present to you these candidates for admission to the degree of Executive Master of Arts. Cassandra Louise Johnston. Samuel Charles Pearson. Deputy Chancellor, I present to you this candidate for admission to the degree of Master of Applied Linguistics. Chelsea Ann Bernal. Deputy Chancellor, I present to you this candidate for admission to the degree of Master of Arts. Mitchell James Taylor. Deputy Chancellor, I present to you this candidate for admission to the degree of Master of Arts and Cultural Management. Heather Margaret Scott.
Congratulations, Heather. Well done.
Deputy Chancellor, I present to you this candidate for admission to the degree of Master of International Relations. Christopher John Price.
Congratulations, Mr. Bevan. Well done.
Deputy Chancellor, I present to you this candidate for admission to the degree of Master of Islamic Studies, Yoon Hui Lin.
Congratulations, well done.
Deputy Chancellor, I present to you this candidate for admission to the degree of Master of Social Policy, Evelyn Morgan Brophy.
Congratulations, Evelyn. Well done. Good on you. I call on Professor Carolyn Evans, Dean of the Melbourne Law School.
Deputy Chancellor, I present to you these candidates for admission to the degree of Juris Doctor. Lisa Marie Bain. Nicholas Boyd Kane. Nicholas Martin Brum. Mark Nathan Burrows. Raymond Carmody Fowler.
Thank you very much. Thanks.
Andrew Eckert.
Thank you very much.
Andrew Frawley.
Thank you very much.
Sophie Elizabeth Carney. Rachel Zahava Liebhaber. Tyrone Marcel Lau. Eden Elizabeth Manning.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Claire Magdalena Marshall. Timothy William Newton. Nyadol William Nairn. Miltiades Miles Pekopoulos.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Sean Nigel Rejanyayam.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Alana Kieran Tutt.
Congratulations, Alana.
Mark Tyndall. Sophie Catherine Wade.
Thank you.
David Lloyd William Wallace. Bartholomew, Master of Commercial Law. Leobitsa Casey Grujic.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Diago Francesco Herrera Silva.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Gorwei Lee.
Well done, Chloe.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Andrew William McLaughlin.
Well done, Andrew. Good on you.
Vo Van Tuen.
Well done,
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Di Zhang.
Congratulations.
Jinxiong Zhang. Deputy Chancellor, I present to you this candidate for admission to the degree of Master of Competition and Consumer Law, Danielle Ingrid Wood. Deputy Chancellor, I present to you these candidates for admission to the degree of Master of Construction Law, Mohammed Ahmed Mohammed Abu Gheres. Sarah Dina Baig. Sean Michael Emmett. Tiffany Jo Gutierrez.
Congratulations, Tiffany.
Thank you.
Alistair Cedric Maris. Wendy Gay Maloney. Leon Christopher Richards. Deputy Chancellor, I present to you these candidates for admission to the degree of Master of Employment and Labour Relations Law. Ekpen Deborah Karen Margetovich. Deputy Chancellor, I present to you these candidates for admission to the degree. Juan Carlos Ponce La Torre.
Thank you very much.
Carlos Alexander Romero Saavedra. Deputy Chancellor, I present to you these candidates for admission to the degree of Master of Environmental Law. Luciano Fernando Arade Marin Isa. Luis Alonso Akira Cordovez. Andrea Lee Burns. Deputy Chancellor, I present to you this candidate for admission to the degree of Master of Health and Medical Law, Abdul Hakim bin Abdul Halim. Deputy Chancellor, I present to you these candidates for admission to the degree of Master of Intellectual Property Law, Gemma Natasha Ferguson. Duncan Charles Joyner. Beata Andrea Lawrenson. Michael Daphne Yanev. Deputy Chancellor, I present to you these candidates for admission to the degree of Master of International Tax, Alista Malavesto.
Thanks.
Jessica Patricia Manozor Sayava.
It is now my pleasure to introduce a performer from the faculty of the Victorian College of the Arts and the Melbourne Conservatorium of Music. Michael McManus is a Master of Music Performance degree student, and he will perform the piece Asturias by Isaac Albanese. Would you please join me in welcoming Michael to the stage? On your behalf, ladies and gentlemen, I thank Michael McManus for his performance. I will now receive candidates for admission to master's degrees and call again on Professor Evans.
Deputy Chancellor, I present to you these candidates for admission to the degree of Master of Laws. Nurul Hanan Abdul Manif.
Thank you very much.
Bilal Anwi. James Charles Anzarut. Kate Bolster. Catherine Booth. Cassie Esther Kemp Carter. Julie Ann Charles. Andrew Tristan Conley. Rocio de la Mercedes Cordova Valvadias. Naomi Ann Dawson. Arandi Anopema de Silva Jayasuriya. Leila Yunde Ferdowsi. Cameron Jonathan Forbes.
Thank you.
Stephen Craig Hardy. Bjorn Robin Hessett. Sarah Mafanui Horan. Timon Erhabasamen Ibrahim.
Congratulations, Timon. Thank you.
Suwajia Priyadashani Elani Daria Pedigay.
Congratulations to you. Well done.
Anori Leo.
Thank you there.
Joel Brady Masterton.
Well done.
Sean Emmett Maguire. Azar Noor Mohammed.
Congratulations, Azan.
Thank you. Alice Polglaze.
Congratulations, Alice.
Thank you.
Well done.
Kiki Setyoan.
Yes, thank you.
Ekaterina Smirnov. Andrew Mark Smith.
Congratulations, Andrew. Well done.
Iwes Sophia.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Well done.
Thank you.
Pakanaz Sutent.
Congratulations.
Shaitan Kelvin Tai.
Congratulations, Jason.
Lumin T.
Congratulations, Lumin.
Simon James Tolhurst.
Simon.
Bilin Wang.
Congratulations, Billy.
Deputy Chancellor, I present to you these candidates for admission to the degree of Master of Public and International Law. Nosinhana binti Abdullah Majid.
Congratulations. Well done to you.
Thank you, sir.
Mark John Brennan.
Congratulations, Mark. Thank you so much.
Merrick Lucian Foley.
Congratulations.
Amy Elizabeth Fulton.
Congratulations, Amy. Well done.
Susanna Elizabeth McNeil.
Well done, Susanna. Congratulations.
Santiago Marcelo Rojas Pia de la Sera. Deputy Chancellor, I present to you these candidates for admission to the degree of Master of Tax. Robert Henry Hertzman James.
Thank you very much.
Qian Qian Leo. Mary Tran.
Well done, Mary.
Eugene Francis Spillahan.
Congratulations, Eugene.
I call again on Associate Professor Baker.
Deputy Chancellor, I present to you this candidate for admission to the degree of the Master of Community Cultural Development, Kate Alicia Hill.
Well done, Kate. Congratulations.
Deputy Chancellor, I present to you this candidate for admission to the degree of Master of Amanuensuring. Margaret Mona Maria Randall. Rebecca Emily Fairchild. Rachel Landgren. Nicholas Thomas Catton Slaney.
Deputy Chancellor, I present to you this candidate who has been awarded the Graduate Diploma in Business Administration, Prashant Nair.
Thank you very much.
Deputy Chancellor, I present to you this candidate for admission to the degree of Executive Master of Public Administration, Stephen John Northey. Deputy Chancellor, I present to you this candidate for admission to the degree of Master of Accounting, Prichaya Nutasopon.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Deputy Chancellor, I present to you these candidates for admission to the degree of Master of Business Administration, Stephen Lee George Carter. present to you.
Thank you.
Deputy Chancellor, I present to you these candidates for admission to the degree of Master of Management Accounting. Yutong Cheng. Xiaomei Liu.
Congratulations, Xiaomei.
Thank you.
Meng Shui He. Nan Li.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Deputy Chancellor, I present to you this candidate for admission to the degree of Master of Philosophy, Xin Yi Tang.
Thank you.
I call on Professor David Beckett, Deputy Dean of the Melbourne Graduate School of Education.
Deputy Chancellor, I present you these candidates for admission to the degree of Master of Education. David John Buchanan.
Well done, David.
Thank you so much.
Good on you.
Robert and Jane Klein.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Vanessa Fraser.
Thank you very much.
Meredith Joyce Haley. Amanda Jane Purcell. Jacqueline Ann Quinnett. Deputy Chancellor, I present you this candidate for admission to the degree of Master of Educational Psychology, Amanda Jane Evans. Deputy Chancellor, I present you these candidates for admission to the degree of Master of Teaching, Catherine Barton.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Ivana Brando. Amy Alexandra Bulmer.
Thank you very much.
Yi Wen Chin.
Thank you.
Noni Therese Flynn. I'm sorry, Eliza Mary Devlin.
Congratulations.
Noni Therese Flynn. Piri Briona Jakob von Stingleiche.
Thank you.
Christy Lee Janin. Larissa Michelle Keane.
Thank you.
Linda La. J. Robert McMillan. Emily Courtney Nichols.
I will now receive candidates for admission to doctoral degrees and call again on Professor Beckett to present the candidate for admission to the degree of Doctor of Education.
Deputy Chancellor, I present to you this candidate for admission to the degree of Doctor of Education, Runner Margaret Hetherington, who investigated the impact of positioning and power on relationships in a four-member practicum model. She found that additional members shift positioning and power in the relationship and potentially diminish power issues in what she termed a quadreciprocal model. This study has potential to improve practicum experience for pre-service teachers. Runner Margaret Hetherington.
I call again on Professor Nicholson to present the candidates for admission to the degree of Doctor of Philosophy.
Deputy Chancellor, I present to you these candidates for admission to the degree of Doctor of Philosophy. Munib Ali, who studied the effects of impact by a moving object on both a slender structural member and a building facade. His findings improved our understanding of the risk of damage to built infrastructure in accidents and in severe storms. This knowledge will contribute towards risk reduction in the future. Muni Ali. Sulika Asmarawati, who studied the relationship between the inclusive approach to development and bureaucratic reforms in Indonesia. She found the rule-governed and authoritarian culture of bureaucracy to be at odds with inclusive development and urged a rethinking of the role of government actors as agents for community change. Sulika Asmarawati. Linda Marie Ball, who investigated teachers' beliefs and Year 12 mathematics students' use of computer algebra systems, CAS, and written solutions in examinations. She found that teacher beliefs impacted CAS use and students developed new ways of writing solutions with CAS. Her study provides guidance for teachers and school systems implementing CAS allowed subjects. Guido Andrew Cardinazzi, who has developed new techniques in which X-rays are used to obtain high-quality images of biological specimens. These methods have been used to obtain images of subcellular structures in malaria-infected red blood cells. This research will provide new insights into the life cycle of the malaria parasite. Guido Andrew Cardinazzi. Celeste Helene Chandler, who explored the problems and possibilities of figurative painting in contemporary art practice. She considered the limitations of the conceptual model of art and showed how new empathy research linking perception, emotion and sensation informs pictorial language. Her study reveals new possibilities for making and viewing figurative painting. Celeste Helene Chandler. Fiona Day, who investigated the potential of genetic analysis of bowel cancers to inform the use of drug therapies. Her studies have helped to identify mutations which classify subtypes of bowel cancer, as well as the relationships between these subtypes and the patient's clinical features and outcomes. Sandra D'Urso, who undertook a study of sacramentality and embodied performance practice. She drew on philosophy and political theory to show how sacramental thinking in these performances expressed embodied, critical encounters with state institutions and ideas of citizenship. These findings expand our knowledge of contemporary performance and body politics. Sandra D'Urso. Zoe Lee Gross, who investigated the scatological imagination in underground and avant-garde film. She found that, in contrast to literature and art history, this topic has received little serious attention in film scholarship, despite occupying a central role in the cinema. Her study has very important implications for film theory, spectatorship and aesthetics. Zoe Lee Gross. Chu Yu Shu, who developed resource allocation algorithms to maximise system performance of current and future 4G wireless networks. His study is of particular importance in provisioning fixed wireless broadband services in rural areas where telecommunications infrastructure is absent. This research gives a unique insight of how the system performs under multiple cell sites. Chu Yu Shu. Ji Yin Gao, who investigated critical information patients require when making a decision to enrol in a cancer clinic. Yin Gao. Jana Ann Krevalt, who investigated the relationship between teacher professional learning and teaching standards. Her study gives unique insight into the practices of teacher learning. Her findings challenge researchers and policymakers to reconsider the rhetoric that standards are the tool to promote quality teaching by providing a map for professional training. Jana Ann Krevalt. Ju Young Lee, who investigated the interpersonal relationships between 5 music therapists and clients with profound multiple disabilities. Her analysis resulted in rich descriptions that highlighted the meaningfulness of the non-verbal and musical interactions between the adults. The new video analysis method developed will be useful for researchers in this field from various disciplines. Ju Young Lee. Kate Marie Lysett, who investigated the trajectories and impacts of sleep problems in children with attention deficit hyperactivity disorders. She found that sleep problems persist in 1 in 10 children and worsen child and family well-being, regardless of their persistence. Effective management of sleep problems in children with ADHD is therefore essential. Kate Marie Lysett. Jessica Louise Melbourne, who through an analysis of Army and government documents and interviews with perpetrators, survivors and other eyewitnesses of the 1965-66 killings in Aceh, documented the role of the Army in preparing and carrying out the Indonesian genocide. Her findings counter long-held academic opinion that portrayed this violence as spontaneous. Jessica Louise Melbourne. Champake Mendes, who investigated the use of sensor networks for timely and efficient detection of chemical, biological and radiological leaks. He developed bio-inspired techniques for detecting such threats in a timely manner, while saving energy to prolong sensor lifetime. These new methods will have both civilian... Maynard, who completed a study of zoological acclimatisation, the importation of non-native species, in Victoria between 1858 and 1900. He discovered that acclimatisation was driven by local and imperial forces and was shaped by scientific, economic and cultural interests, thus presenting a radical and timely reinterpretation of Victoria's ecological past. Peter Maxwell Maynard. Lynn Angela Mawson, who completed a practice-led investigation of the role of sculpture in bearing witness to animal suffering and death. She showed how concepts of empathy and trauma can mediate the viewer's reception of sculpture. Her study contributes to understanding of witnessing within the context of critical animal studies. Lynn Angela Mawson. Melissa Shamini Periasamy, who completed a study of the role of visual and verbal elements in the understanding of television commercials. She showed how diverse Malaysians came to make sense of dynamic visual media. Her work, grounded in qualitative approaches, contributes valuable insights and multicultural perspectives to media research in a globalised world. Melissa Shamini Periasamy. Kate Elizabeth Rogers, who examined the history of eugenic thought and practice in Australia. She showed how eugenics was promoted through birth control and welfare programs throughout the 20th century. The study shows how social, political and scientific developments have contributed to the continuing influence of eugenic ideas to the present day. Kate Elizabeth Rogers. Evangelos Sakaris, who investigated the historical and philosophical underpinnings of the act of transubstantiation as a process of art. He demonstrated that, when combined with the notion of provenance, the concept can produce a seemingly impossible change in ordinary objects. This research offers new understandings of art and transubstantiation. Evangelos Sakaris. Carmela Salomon, who studied mental health consumers' experiences of antipsychotic discontinuation. She identified coercive treatment and problems in the therapeutic alliance as drivers of secret discontinuation and highlighted poor information sharing about common discontinuation syndromes. Her study has important implications for our understanding of harm minimisation and decision-making concerning antipsychotic treatment. Carmela Salomon. Christopher David. He operationalised the resulting theoretical model in the analysis of a 14-year period of his own filmmaking, thereby demonstrating its potential usefulness to other filmmakers, film students and film policymakers. Christopher David Warner. Natasha Ziebel, who used a categorisation scheme of key performance types to investigate alignment of the intended, enacted and assessed curriculum for mathematics and science in the 4 primary schools. The results reveal curriculum alignment to be a dynamic process of iterative interpretation connecting practices at the level of system, school and classroom. Natasha Zebel.
I call again on Professor Evans to introduce Mr. Andrew Conley, who has kindly agreed to deliver the valedictory speech.
Deputy Chancellor, it gives me great pleasure to introduce Andrew Conley. Andrew is graduating today with a Master of Laws, having completed his Bachelor of Laws at Monash in 2007 and his Bachelor of Music from this university in 2004. He's currently practising as a barrister, having been admitted to the profession in 2009 and signed the bar roll in 2011. Prior to commencing practice as a barrister, Andrew was an associate to the Honourable Justice Bongiorno AO on the Supreme Court of Victoria, who'll be known to a number of our law graduates today as one of our judges in residence. He also carried out important work in Cambodia as legal advisor to the Community Legal Education Centre in Phnom Penh, an NGO that's fighting to bring about the rule of law in that country. We're very grateful to him for taking the time to speak today on behalf of the graduating class. Please join with me in welcoming our valedictorian, Andrew Conley.
Deputy Chancellor, Provost, members of the University, fellow graduates, ladies and gentlemen. I have made a speech in this hall before, but this time things are quite different. The first time I was standing somewhere near the middle of the front row, about 5 metres beneath the floor. It was 2006, the Engineering Music Society's end-of-year concert. The 50 musicians of the Society's concert band, of which I was then the conductor, were huddled downstairs in the service corridors, their instruments warmed up and hopefully tuned up, and we were about to come through that door to play Johann de Meij's Lord of the Rings Symphony to a full house, although slightly less full than this one. I remember, in a burst of passion perhaps more appropriate to a football coach than a conductor decked out in tails, that I told them all to blow your guts out, or words to that effect. Being a baritone saxophonist, it all made perfect sense to me. I won't be urging that approach upon you today, ladies and gentlemen, but hopefully I can maintain a bit of that kind of enthusiasm. Let me start by publicly thanking a great many people on behalf of my fellow graduates. I thank the staff of the university who strive, in sometimes difficult circumstances, to continue and to improve the university's 160-year-long tradition. The pursuit of evidence and reason, of learning and understanding, and of those matters that transcend the mundane. In sum, the pursuit of those things that improve the human condition. Though your work is, in a sense, your day graduates, even the most self-sufficient of us will have relied often on their help and friendship. In fact, in most cases, we owed them a great deal long before we attended Discovery Day. Speaking for myself for a moment, I thank my wonderful wife, Rowena, who is a Doctor of Psychology of this university, whom I met here in 2004 while studying for my Bachelor of Music. Her wisdom must surely be in the pages of the essays I wrote for my Master of Laws, since I spoke to her nearly constantly about every one of my subjects. Thank you, Hun. May I now speak to my fellow graduates directly. Before I do what I was asked up here to do, that is, valedictus, to say farewell, we ought to pause to contemplate the answer to one important question. In what endeavour are we to fare well? I submit to you that the answer is to be found in our relationships with others. Despite the great magnitude of the many difficulties humanity faces, they are not made up of mere numbers and statistics. They always, in the end, concern human beings, women, men, children, flesh and blood. There are a great many people in Victoria, in Australia, indeed at all corners of the earth, who desperately crave and deserve compassion, dignity, and justice. Senator Robert Kennedy said, "We must admit the vanity of our false distinctions among men, and learn to find our own advancement in the search for the advancement of all." In days gone by, the idea was forcefully expressed as the moral duty to help others less fortunate than oneself. Whilst that mode of expression is no longer in fashion, the point remains. Every graduate of this university, each and every one of us, is equipped to pursue the Senator's exhortation. I ask you to consider how you might employ your facilities for critical analysis, for scepticism and questioning, and for constructive and creative thinking for the betterment of others. I appeal to you to put what you have learned here to work in the search for the advancement of all. The present Chief Justice of the High Court of Australia, Chief Justice French, said in 2011 that, "As graduates, you should be able to make a contribution to Australian society in many areas of local, national, and global significance. Your contribution may be made by advocacy on the public stage or in the working environment of public and private sectors, in literature and the arts, or simply by conversation in the company of friends and colleagues." Close quote. In these ways, large and small, special and ordinary, I hope that you will find a way to use your talents to make a thoughtful and beneficial contribution. I bid you farewell and good luck. I wish you all the very best in the decades ahead. I hope that today has been a wonderful opportunity for you and your loved ones to celebrate your efforts and your achievement, and to survey the path before you. Wherever that path leads, I hope that it takes you to meaning and to fulfilment. Thank you very much.
In Celebrate Law Quadrangle adjacent to Wilson Hall, which we're in right now.